Welcome to Developing Information Literacy and Communication Skills, a freshman seminar presentation. We're also going to discuss communicating clearly, and that includes both verbally, orally, and that also includes the written word. Remember that communication skills is an area that many employers want to see good skills and can help you really advance when you do get into your job field. And even in college, your communication skills can help you get some money through applying for scholarships and grants. As most of you do have assignments where you have a lot of writing to do, and hopefully you're getting good information from writing one, here's kind of a quick review on some steps to good writing. Really, there are three phases: pre-writing, drafting, and revising. In the pre-writing stage, you can see there is in the green area. The drafting area is in the orange, and then the revising is in there. And this is a nice graphic that kind of shows the types of things that you're going to want to do, and we'll go through these step by step in the next few slides. First step is pre-writing. Once you pick your topic, we've already talked about all those things, and this is going to include your research phase and starting to organize your ideas. Some people really like a certain type of an outline. I usually let my students submit either a very formal outline or just kind of a rough outline. We all think in different ways. Some use what's called a web or mapping technique. Even free writing can really help you get off to a good start on your pre-writing phase. The next step is actually drafting the paper itself. Of course, you're going to center it all around a thesis statement, which is a short statement that clearly defines the purpose of your paper, what you're trying to do, the claim that you're going to make. And once you start your rough draft, then there may be adjustments that you make. You might want to include some more ideas. You might start filtering some things out. And I do encourage that you continue research during this stage because you've gotten some experience, you found some things, and now you can dig a little bit more deeply and find sometimes things that really are going to change the course of your paper and make it much better. The revision stage is super important, and this is a phase that many students come to college and they really haven't done much of this. And so this tends to be a really big difference maker. Revising means polishing your paper up. You're going to go through and look for spelling and grammar issues, but you're also going to look at your transitions and kind of see where you've included maybe some unnecessary terms or words or repeated things sometimes. There are times even where you might wipe out an entire paragraph because you've really just repeated something or it kind of goes off in a different direction and you really don't need it. It kind of interrupts the flow of your paper. One good recommendation is to read your paper aloud or to have somebody else read the paper aloud. Sometimes it even helps to read it backwards, which sounds ridiculous, but oftentimes that will help you catch things that you otherwise wouldn't catch because your brain's kind of filling in the gaps for you. You kind of eliminate that issue if you read from the back. In all phases of writing, I really strongly encourage you to work with a writing lab. These are people, again, who are paid to help you with your writing. In any stage you're struggling in or any stage you just want to kind of get an extra boost, go visit them. And they're not simply for people who are struggling with writing. Oftentimes they get that reputation because they do a good job helping people who are struggling. But some of the best students and some of the best writers benefit from visiting the writing lab regularly because they can really help them move up to that next level and really smooth things out as they're kind of trying some new types of writing that might be appropriate for their classes. So on the Ancilla campus, they are located in the back of the library. Usually they're available during the day, but you can also email them and get some help that way as well. The details are here on the screen. In addition to assignments, we also have a lot of other types of communication that we're going to do in college. And this is a good opportunity to start preparing and getting practice for workplace communication and communication for the rest of your life. Even though you aren't necessarily getting graded on these things, you still want to learn to practice and kind of differentiate between the appropriate contexts and times to use different styles of writing. So of course there's formal writing, and that's anytime you're communicating with a professor or a boss at work, any other professional, you want to keep it fairly formal. Again, as you get used to people, you may start to, get a little bit more informal as you get to know them and kind of understand each other. But in general, you want to stick with fairly formal writing. And of course, any written or oral assignment for college or employer, that requires formal writing as well. I think we all know that. Informal writing is the type of writing we do for family or friends. So when you're texting with your family or texting with your friends, that's a more informal style of writing. Now, when we think about the types of writing that we're going to do, formal or informal, again, the context within which we use them, that seems like common sense. Though I do get a lot of really sloppy, informal emails and communication from students sometimes. Again, a lot of that's common sense. We just have to start using our common sense and be reminded sometimes. But what do we mean by formal writing? Well, formal writing includes complete sentences, not using slang words, and writing in a professional manner. And that's kind of a vague phrase. That's something that you'll learn as you go along what that means. Informal writing is where you're going to use fragments, so not complete sentences, and you're going to use some slang. And again, that's fine. Our nonverbal communication is also very important, and you can spend a lot of time learning about body language. What we're going to focus on here is using different symbols in different motions and things. There's a whole field of study called intercultural communications, and you can probably take classes on that. Very fascinating. I encourage you to look up some of these things and see what they mean in different countries and how they can be considered very offensive or just ridiculous signs in different countries of the examples that are listed here. We also want to really consider our communication when it comes to electronic writing. Again, sometimes that can be formal, sometimes it can be informal, but we need to make sure that we keep a few things in mind. One is that people can't read emotions. Some of us write in ways where we think that we're writing a certain way, but other people may misread our emotion. For example, don't use any form that signifies shouting, like uppercase or bold lettering. That can come across as being overly aggressive or overly dramatic to people. And you have to be careful with humor or sarcasm. This is a big one for me because I have very dry humor, very sarcastic humor, and a lot of people don't catch that. So I have to be very careful with my written communication. In terms of emailing instructors, that's one that students really want to consider and try to improve. You want to be very clear. You want to maintain a reasonable tone, a very calm tone, even if you are upset about something. Oftentimes, if you're upset and people read it as you attacking them, then they get upset. And what should be a very simple, straightforward situation becomes very complicated and very heated. So you want to be careful and make sure that you do maintain a certain level of respect and professionalism when emailing your instructor. Whether you're writing papers or preparing speeches, you want to always make sure that you cite your sources. What that means is that you're telling your readers or listeners where your information came from. You're borrowing information from other sources, and that's what we as college-level writers do, but you want to make sure you tell where you got them. That also helps your readers see that you have really good evidence and that you're very credible. Make sure that any exact words are put in quotation marks and that you use that person's name in your paper so they get credit. But that also includes their ideas as well. So most of us come into college knowing that, if I have a quote, I need to tell where I got it. But also if you're using somebody's ideas, even if you're paraphrasing them, that's actually a really good form of use in writing, but you still want to give them credit. Basically, rule of thumb, any information that wouldn't be considered common knowledge, you need to make sure you cite where you got it in your source. Your instructors may have you using MLA and APA formats. Other colleges, and as you get more into your fields, you'll have even other formats pop up as well. But these are the main two that you're going to encounter at Ancilla College. One big topic you really want to make sure you're aware of and know the best you can is about plagiarism. Plagiarism basically taking somebody else's ideas and presenting them as your own. That's the same as theft, and if you do that in a workplace, you can be fired, terminated. In terms of academic work, that's considered dishonesty, and different colleges have different policies about how they deal with that. Ancilla, specifically, you can lose credit for an assignment and be given a 0 for an assignment, and then subsequent times you're caught cheating, you can be expelled from the college. Note that in the slide and what I just presented is what I've been provided to share with you in terms of Freshman Seminar. But you'll want to make sure that you look at your student handbook and make sure that you see that on academic dishonesty, and make sure that you understand the ramifications of it and what can happen. Many instructors, including yours truly, many of us do review papers for plagiarism. That's something that we look at. A lot of us use an electronic software called Turnitin, and we use that. And I have repeatedly caught students cheating. So you definitely want to avoid that, and you want to make sure that you're just doing your own work, you're not plagiarizing, and you'll be fine. The last item we're going to cover relates to public speaking. And employers really like when employees are able to do public speaking and represent the company well, but at the same time, a lot of people really struggle with public speaking and are even afraid of it. We're going to run through a few guidelines for successful speaking over the next few slides, and these are things that you really want to work on, not just in your public speaking class that many of you will take, but also in general as you're working on other projects and sharing things with the class, whether a formal or informal way. First of all, you want to clarify, what is your objective? Are you trying to persuade people of something, just to inform them? Are you trying to sell people? And what action do you want your listeners to take, or what belief or knowledge do you want them to have when you're done? Then you really want to think about your audience. You want to analyze your audience and understand them. Think about what they might already know, and then what they need to know, and how you're going to provide it. Get to know your listeners and their attitudes toward you and toward the topic, so you can better plan what to present and how to present it. Step 3, of course, you want to organize whatever you're going to present, just like you would organize a paper. And for step 4, you want to choose appropriate visual aids. And there are a lot of things listed here, but there's a lot of good research. You can see the details here that show that whoever's watching and listening to you will actually retain information a lot better if you use some type of a visual aid. If you're able to have notes during a speech, you want to make sure you prepare those well. Experts recommend that you memorize the introduction and conclusion, and then just kind of use an outline to keep yourself straight as you go through along there, and then keeping any major points or examples in your outline as well. Some people like to use note cards. Step 6, you want to make sure you're practicing your delivery, whether that's in front of a mirror, to yourself, or to your dog. Some people like to videotape it and get feedback from other people as well. Just things to consider here. As you plan your speech, you want to make sure that you plan correct words that you're going to use. You want details, you want very specific words instead of general words. And then as you're delivering your speech, you want to really cut down on using words like, and etc. And that's a big thing for me. You can even hear in some of these presentations that I stuttering, and you really don't want that. Like I just did, just said So there's a great example. Number 8, step 8, you want to dress appropriately. There's research that indicates, and some people have just provided their own stories, many students report that when they dress more professionally for a speech, they feel like they delivered a better presentation. There's something that it does, it gives you more mental confidence, it makes you feel more professional, and as a result, you're able to deliver a little bit better. And then step 9, you want to request feedback from someone in your audience. Part of the whole point here is you want to keep getting better and better and better. So even if you're presenting a topic or a presentation in a class that isn't public speaking, where you're going to get direct feedback about your speech, you want to ask a friend in the audience, a roommate, somebody on your team, whatever. Go ahead and ask them if they will provide some feedback so you can do better the next time. Okay, time to review. First of all, when you use the ideas of others, make sure you give them credit. Make sure that you do take time and effort to develop your writing and speaking skills, that you understand the differences between formal and informal communication, use them. Learn and practice the 3 distinct stages of writing, and learn and practice the guidelines for effective speaking. Those are all things from the second half of our presentation. Make sure that with information literacy as well, you know how to use a library, you spend a lot of time in there, get help from librarians, and learn how to differentiate between sources and really evaluate your sources so you're using good sources and making the best possible product that you can.